Hey everybody, Casey Miller here with Positive Coaching Alliance with our National Director of Training, Ruben Nieves. We are back for another Tips and Tools Tuesday, and this week we are going to be talking about the growth mindset. So this is a super important framework that is something that PCA incorporates into a lot of our workshops. Many of you have probably heard the term before, pioneered by Carol Dweck, Dr. Carol Dweck from Stanford University. Ruben's going to be diving into this a little bit more deeply today, and then also talking about how parents and coaches can utilize this mindset and encourage this mindset in their youth athletes. So we want this to be super interactive today. We want people to engage. We want people to ask questions. I already see people are tuning in. If you have questions that come up, either about positive coaching lines in general, the growth mindset, other questions for Ruben, he's the expert, so I will make sure that he gets these questions. So I'm following along on my phone, so if you have questions, just write them in. And thank you all for joining. So I think just to kick us off, Ruben, can you talk a little about, if someone has never heard of the growth mindset, can you talk about what that really means?
Yeah, so a mindset is a mental framework that a person has that they approach any situation or subject or activity. So it's specific. So someone could have a fixed mindset, for example, in mathematics, and maybe they have a growth mindset in sports. So when you have a fixed mindset, you view things as talent and ability being fixed. You either have it or you don't. Okay. On the other hand, the growth mindset is where you view talent and ability as something that is malleable and can be developed and changed. And so that's basically the difference between a fixed and growth mindset.
Got it. And can you talk a little bit more about why is growth mindset important? And real quickly, I just want to welcome Javier from Mexico is tuning in. Welcome, Javier. Marty Breed, Jessica Lacayo, Jenny Wolbrand, William Friedig, Jerry Throckmorton. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Let us know where you're watching from. Chat it in. And again, if you have questions that come up, please do chat those in and we'll make sure they get asked to Ruben. So we're talking about the growth mindset today and talk about why is it important?
Yeah. Bienvenidos, Javier. Gracias por estar con nosotros hoy. So it's important because when athletes have or people have a fixed mindset, they don't want to risk failure. It's like if I have a fixed mindset in basketball, hey, I'm good. I've got it in basketball. Well, I don't want to do anything that would risk people realizing, well, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not as good as people are telling me. Maybe I don't have it. So it can be very demotivating, and you tend to avoid challenges, and you want to risk. You want to avoid the possibility of failure at all costs. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, it's very motivating. You tend to enjoy challenges and thrive on challenges. You gravitate towards more challenging options, and for an athlete and as a coach of athletes, you very much want that type of mindset, that growth mindset in your athletes.
Totally. It looks like we have a bunch of people joining. Michael, who's a high school tennis coach in Grove City, Pennsylvania. Sean from Utah, and Fifi Barnell says, can you ask Ruben to be a little louder, please? So maybe, Ruben, if you lean a little bit more closely to the microphone, that might help solve that. And then let's see here. We got Molly Whitaker watching, Trey Thompson, Kristen from Maryland, Mike from Maine. Again, let us know where you're watching from. We're talking about the growth mindset. We did have a question already come in from Craig Fullen. He's wondering, Ruben, you personally, did you always have a growth mindset? And if not, what made you change?
Well, okay, great question. By the way, let me know if my volume isn't loud enough and I can plug in these.
Sounds okay to me. I think it sounds okay to me. So, Becky, if you still can't hear, let us know, but maybe try turning up the volume. I can hear it okay on my end. So.
Okay. Keep me posted. Yeah, so one area that I have developed a growth mindset is with technology. Okay, I used to be afraid of computers. Like I'm no good. I'm no good with technology. And when I learned about mindset, I realized, well, of course, I'm not good at it. I've just accepted that I'm not. And uh, I decided I was going to try to adopt a growth mindset towards technology. And I'm no guru, and no one's going to hire me as an IT specialist, but boy, have I come a long ways. And I embrace the things that technology enables. And in some cases, I've actually been able to help others with technology. And how rewarding is that to be actually helping someone in an area that I once thought, gosh, I'll never be good at this.
Totally. That's a great question and a great example of using the growth mindset. And we'd love to hear from you all that are watching. Had you heard of the growth mindset before today? And if so, are there certain, and I guess this is the question too, Ruben, is it possible, and I think we have a video on this from Carol Dweck, is it possible to have a growth mindset in certain areas of life and then in other areas not have a growth mindset? Or is it you have a growth mindset or nothing, all or nothing?
It's absolutely area specific. And one of the best example of this is students in school. I'm good in history, but I'm no good in foreign language. Students feeling like they've got it in one subject and that in another subject they can never be good at it. And so it absolutely is area specific. Gosh, it can be sports specific too. You can have a growth mindset in volleyball and have a fixed mindset with water polo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And I think, we have somebody monitoring the chat too, so we can add in a video that we have from Carol Dweck, actually, who we honored at our National Youth Sports Awards a couple years back, talking about that. Renee Soto wrote in, or Luis, sorry, Luis from New Jersey, a high school soccer coach, and they are wondering what are some practical ways to create environments that promote growth mindsets?
Yeah, I love that question.
Practical ways to create that environment.
I love that question because I want to talk about that. So the way we give feedback to our athletes can direct them towards a fixed or growth mindset. So was it Luis, Coach Luis?
Yep, Luis.
So Luis, what we want to do is we want to be on the lookout for when our athletes give great effort, and we want to praise them for their effort and the process, as opposed to praising them purely for their talent and their apparent ability. So, for example, if I say, Casey, you are a great shooter. I mean, it sounds good and my intention is good, and Casey might even like hearing that. But that kind of praise is directing Casey towards a fixed mindset. On the other hand, if I say something like, Casey, I bet you practice your shooting a lot, and that's why you're able to shoot such a good percentage. Subtle difference, but now the feedback that I'm giving, the interaction with Casey is directing her towards a growth mindset. I am attributing her success and her positive results not to God-given talent, but to the work she's put in, the effort she's put in, the practice, the process that she's committed herself to become a great shooter.
Praising the effort and the process over just the results or the talent.
Yeah, and it's okay to praise results as long as you connect it to the effort and talent. Wow, Casey, you went 8 for 8 from the free throw line tonight. That extra practice last week really paid off. That, even though I'm praising the results, I'm attributing it to the process, the effort.
Right. And Carol Dweck has a book all about the growth mindset. And I remember reading it, and she talks about, there's certain things that you can do that reinforce the fixed mindset without even knowing it. Like saying a kid coming home from school, and you're so smart. You're so smart. But, what specifically are they working towards to become smart and praising that effort. So I think that's an awesome point. So hopefully that was helpful, Luis in New Jersey. Thanks so much for watching. So Brandon wrote in, Brandon Walden said, what are some tools we can use as coaches to help players with a fixed mindset move toward a growth mindset? So
Good.
tools for athletes who might have a fixed mindset that we want to get to a growth mindset.
Okay, so Casey, I'm going to ask you to help me with this. And this comes straight from Carol Dweck. It's simple and it's brilliant, and partly it's brilliant because it's so simple. So when an athlete says, I can't blank, or I'm no good at blank, a great response by a parent, a coach, or even a teammate is to repeat it, but add yet. So Casey, help me with this. I'm going to tell you, I can't serve it over the net.
You can't serve it over the net yet.
Okay, let's try another one. I can't run a mile without stopping.
You can't run a mile yet. You can't run a mile without stopping yet. But if you keep working towards it.
Yeah, Casey, and then you're expanding on that. So yet is a great starting point. So you led me to the next tool. So let's give Brandon another tool. And this is a PCA tool that we've used for lots of things, but it very much applies to growth mindset. You started to give me an if-then statement, I think, Casey. So if you blank, then something else is likely happen. So let's go back to you said you can't run a mile without stopping yet. Now add an if-then statement. In fact, let's invite people, Casey, to chat in an if-then statement. So I said I can't run a mile, and then the coach said you can't run a mile yet. Now they're going to add an if-then statement that would promote a growth mindset. Brandon, I want you to try it in the chat. Let's see what you put in there.
All right, I'm watching the chat, and I see a ton of people who are tuning in. While people are writing in an if-then statement, an example, Morgan Sullivan says the power of yet. Absolutely, it's the power of yet. Catalina Escobar,
sounds like someone who's read the growth mindset or read mindset.
Yep, and Morgan also said praising effort over accomplishments also helps players to understand their focus should be on what they can control, effort, versus things that they can't control, like talent and intelligence. So absolutely, and nobody has wrote in yet with an if-then statement.
Brandon?
Well, Brandon said yet, comma, but with hard work and dedication, you will.
Yeah. So if you keep working hard and stay dedicated, then you will.
We got one, Fifi, who is the one that said the audio was low, and now she also said it was back better. So Fifi said, if you train with my direction, then you will be able to run without stopping. So if you follow the practice plan, then you'll be able to run without stopping. And then Dan Classer, but if you keep training, you will be able to then soon.
Yes.
Another one more. If you practice running daily, then you will eventually be able to run a mile without stopping.
Yes. So the if-then statement's a tool, yet is a tool. Let's do one more, Casey. You're the kind of person who statements. This comes from PCA founder and former executive director Jim Thompson. And he's a big fan of you're the kind of person who statement. So the same thing. So I can't serve it over the net. Well, Ruben, you can't serve it over the net yet. And you're the kind of person who, and then you finish it with a statement about me that directs me to a growth mindset. So can we do the same thing, Casey? Invite people to finish that. You can't serve the ball over the net yet. And you're the kind of person who, let's see what people come up with to finish that.
Yep. So let's write that in, and I'll read some other ones while people are typing in you're the kind of person who statement to reinforce the growth mindset. So you're the kind of person who something. So it looks like, Maggie said that she and Miles are watching in Chicago. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Miles. Let's see here. If you try, this is another example from Amy. If you try and increase your distance by 200 meters each week, you'll get there. Jorge Beret says, always see the light at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel may be long and hard, but if you stay persistent and consistent, you will eventually finish that tunnel.
I love that, and I love the if-then part at the end. Any you're the kind of person who statements yet? You're the kind of person who?
Not yet. No, nobody's written it in yet, but I'm watching. Oh wait, we just got one. You're the kind of person who will follow our practice plan and will successfully serve it over the net soon.
Nice. Yeah.
Morgan Sullivan. You're the kind of person who will work at it until you can. Mike Herrick. Amazing examples.
Yeah, you're the kind of person who doesn't give up easily. You're the kind of person who sticks with it. You're the kind of person who loves a challenge. Okay? You're the kind of person statements can help direct people towards a growth mindset.
Here's another one from Dan. You're the kind of person who is determined to keep working hard until you get there.
Beautiful.
Maggie, you're the kind of person who puts in the effort and hard work to achieve their goals. So, and we can also, again, we have, I think, one-pagers with specific ways that you can use both the if-then statements and the you're the kind of person who statements to reinforce the growth mindset. And so we can chat those in here on the feed.
Yeah, you know, Casey, you started by asking me why is growth mindset so important? And as I hear the coaches chime in, you know, at PCA, we believe that we want coaches to be double goal coaches, that coaches that strive to win and teach life lessons. You know, life lessons, life skills, stuff that applies and helps people succeed outside of the gym and outside that swimming pool. Promoting a growth mindset and getting our athletes to understand the power of a growth mindset. What greater life lesson? I mean, there's other great ones, but boy, that one's way at the top of my list to send athletes out into the world understanding the importance of having a growth mindset.
Yeah, I love that. And I'd be curious too, just for, it looks like there's about 100 people that are watching live right now. The 100 people that are watching, comment if you've been through a PCA workshop, either online or in person. Just write in a simple yes or no, because I'm just curious to see who may have learned about some of these tools in one of our workshops. So again, if you've been through a PCA workshop, either live in person with your school or your league, or through one of our online workshops, we'd love to know that. It looks like, oh, Brandon just had another example. You're the kind of person who would do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yes.
So
yes.
I love that.
So empowering, so encouraging, so much helping me understand that the fact that this is a moment in time. The ball's not going over the net right now, but this doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever. I love that, Brandon. Hey, Casey, you know, when Carol Dweck came and talked at National Youth Sports Awards, PCA National Youth Sports Awards and Benefit a couple years ago, she pointed out something that was a real eye-opener for all of us at PCA. She talked about how there was a real common misconception about growth mindset. And she explained to us that, you know, people think that if you just praise effort, that you're doing growth mindset. And she said, no, that's not enough. Just praising effort is not enough. It has to be combined with good strategy, good coaching, good feedback. It's got to be combined with the ability to change tactics if praise in and of itself is not working. So you know, I can say I love how hard you're trying to tackle. I love how hard. Keep it up. Keep giving great effort. If you keep trying, you'll eventually get it. Carol Dweck says no, that's not enough. It's good to encourage the effort, but if an athlete isn't getting the results, that's where the coach comes in and helps the athlete change approach. Well, maybe instead of Brandon is going to laugh at me because I'm not a football coach, but instead of trying to tackle the runner up high, maybe let's get him lower, you know, between the knees and the waist. Or hey, let's take a look at some great football players like Brandon Whiting, and let's watch video of Brandon Whiting and watch how he tackled players when he was on the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, so it's growth mindset and promoting growth mindset Focusing on effort and praising effort is part of it. And then as a coach, helping steer the athlete towards a successful learning strategy and improvement strategy. That's what Carol Dweck said a lot of people were missing. You got to combine both.
Yep, I love that. That's great advice. And so I want to get to, there was about 50-50, I would say, of people who said they have been through a workshop and some who had not. Kabdi said that they went through one on Pinehurst last year at the U.S. Kids Golf World Championship. I remember our partnership with U.S. Kids Golf and doing those workshops there. And so let's see here. Kimberly Ann I think she's asking, how do you positive coach with an athlete that has a mental block, i.e. the yips? How do you coach with an athlete or coach an athlete that has a mental block, i.e. the yips? And Ruben, coached Division I men's volleyball for many, many years at Stanford University as a champion. And so he's a great person to ask about this, because I would guess that you've probably had in the past an athlete who, maybe had this issue.
Yes, absolutely. And what an awesome part of coaching. What an opportunity to help an athlete break through. Okay, to help an athlete that's stuck, to help them break through. So at Stanford, back in the early 90s, coached a very good team, and we were knocking on the door, but we often faltered at crunch time. And our star attacker, who is now a reverend in Santa Barbara, a minister in Santa Barbara, California, has a lovely family. His name is Dave Goss. And Dave Goss, he was a great attacker. He could put the ball away, but he wasn't the same. He wasn't the same at the end, at crunch time. And so we did a drill in practice on a regular basis where, when it was time to scrimmage, back then we played to 15, okay, and it was side out scoring. We didn't play to 25. So we would say, okay, it's game 5 and the score is 12-12. Let's play out the game. And by the way, Dave's team, you can only set Dave. No one else is allowed to attack. So Dave got practice and repetitions at coming through in crunch time. He got over his fear of failure through being put into that situation. His teammates encouraged the heck out of him. Coaches encouraged him, but even more importantly, his teammates understood that if we're going to become a championship team, we need Dave to be just as good at the end of a match as he is at the beginning of a match. Later that season, Dave set an NCAA kills record at Pauley Pavilion against number 1 ranked UCLA. We upset them, and Dave set the all-time NCAA kill record with 55 kills in a match. That record lasted for many years. It's no longer the NCAA record, but it lasted for many years. So one more thing, Casey, about helping people get over the yips. The biggest impediment to performance is fear of failure. And so those of us who have the yips, I wonder if that's a golf coach talking, yips,
Yeah.
Yips is because when I'm standing over the putt, instead of thinking about my process, my grip, my breathing, my practice stroke, what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about, what if I miss? Or I don't think I'm going to. So we have to get the mind focused away from the fear of failure, the fear of mistakes. Most putters, I played a little golf, not very well, but I played a little golf, and most putters say they putt better when they let go of the result. Okay, I might miss, so what? Here's the stroke. So
Fear of failure.
Fear of failure is a killer to performance in sports and in any aspect of life.
Totally. I want to get to Ron Baker's kind of a comment, but just have you speak to it. And we have about 5 more minutes, so if anybody else have questions they want to chat in, you can do that now. So Ron's saying, he said, over-encouragement can be a negative. You can become complacent. You need criticism with encouragement. And I'd love to have you speak to that, because I think sometimes people hear Positive Coaching Alliance, sometimes they get a misconception like it's rainbows and butterflies and everyone gets a trophy and it's all fluff. And, I'd love to have you speak to, criticism versus encouragement to Ron Baker's question.
Yeah, what a nice insight, Ron. Praise is not enough. And praise has to be truthful. It has to be truthful. If praise is truthful, in my opinion, it can't be overdone. Now, it doesn't mean that you overlook areas that can be corrected and constructive criticism. But if praise is truthful and the athlete is doing things well that you like, keep it on. Keep it on. Where it becomes too much is if you're overlooking the feedback. Again, the player who's stuck or plateaued, it can be very demotivating for a coach to keep praising them and not give them information that helps them get unstuck.
Right.
So correction is a very important part of coaching, and the key is that athletes take critique hard. Okay, Phil Jackson talked about when he would correct or critique a professional basketball player, it was like an atomic bomb going off. It affected them so much, hearing that they weren't doing something right. So it takes a lot of praise and emotional tank filling to offset that. Positive coaching alliance, we talk about a magic ratio of 5-to-1, 5 times as much tank filling as correction. Okay, it's not 5-to-0. So Ron is right. The ideal ratio is 5-to-1. There is a place for correction and critique.
And the main goal is to help people perform their best and be their best version of themselves. And that takes feedback and criticism and correction. They just have to be willing to receive it, which is where the 5 comes in.
Yeah, Casey, I had a coach. I heard this from a few coaches. So when I grew up playing sports, we're talking 50 years ago. Coaches would tell us, hey, if I'm not talking to you, it means you're fine. It means I like what you're doing. If I'm not commenting, So the coach was basically saying, if you were a good player and doing the skill correctly, he's going to leave you alone. And you know what? That was demotivating. It's like, coach isn't helping me get better. I'm not, all the attention, the attention is going to those players. And not only is the attention going to those players, he's yelling and he's angry at those players. So he should, he's saying, you're fine. You should be glad that I'm not yelling at you, So let's make sure that we don't fall into that we think, oh no, players don't need us to praise them and fill their emotional tanks. We all need our emotional tanks filled.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we're wrapping up here, and I want to just highlight a couple of things for people who are watching. For those of you who haven't been through any of PCA's training, right now, our student athlete course is available to take at no cost. We'll share a link to that. We found that actually a lot of coaches are going through the athlete training to be able to speak about it with their teams. So again, our athlete course is available right now at no cost. We also have opened up our officials course. So anybody who, maybe referees as part of their role in the youth sports culture, that is available to take at no cost. And then we also have our parent and coach online workshops that we will be sharing out here soon. So encourage you all to take advantage of that opportunity. And any last words for coaches watching about the growth mindset or just about PCA in general?
Yeah, sure, Casey. So Carol Dweck and her research, I don't know if she writes about this in the book of Mindset or if this is published elsewhere, but she studied high-level collegiate athletes, Division I athletes, and her research found that the athletes who felt that their coach valued effort, they worked harder, they improved more, and they won more. And she said, well, it may be obvious. Yeah, obviously, if players, work hard, they're going to get better. Well, but what a lot of coaches missed is that I, as a coach, get it, but do my players know how much I value effort and hard work? And that's not a given. For example, if your hardest working player never gets to play in games, what message are you sending to that player and the teammates? Well, working hard is kind of important, but what's more important is other things, it's very important that we coaches show our players that we value effort by rewarding it. How do you reward it? Playing time is a very important reward, especially at the higher levels. By genuinely talking one-on-one with the player and letting them know in a convincing, genuine way that you value how hard they're working. Some coaches use awards. Like, does the game ball go to the player who hit 3 home runs in the game? Or does the game ball go to the player who hustled on and off the field and who worked their tail off in practice and pushed their teammates all week? So that's the last thought I have to leave people with, Casey.
Thank you so much, Ruben. And Diane was asking, is there a code to get the class fee waived? For the athlete and the officials course, yes, those are now in the chat. So if you click on either of those links when you sign up, you'll immediately get an email back with a voucher code that you can use to take the athlete and the officials course for no cost. And so then just a few other things coming up on our Facebook page. So if you haven't liked our Facebook page, make sure you like it. So that way you can get notifications when we go live. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to be doing a Facebook Live. Marty Reed will be interviewing USA Gymnastics' CEO and their VP of Health and Wellness. And then on Thursday, super excited, we're going to be interviewing Steve Smith, who is an astronaut, also was a water polo player in college, and he's on the top 10 list for space time in the world as an astronaut. And he actually is a big fan of the growth mindset and is going to be talking about how it's impacted him in his career and also how sports have helped him. So, and then the last one on Friday, we'll be doing a Facebook Live session. Marty Reed's going to interview Tom Ferry with Project Play and the Aspen Institute. So that'll be Friday morning. So make sure you like our page so you can get the notifications. And we have a good lineup. And then we'll be back on Tuesday for Tips and Tools Tuesday with Kelly Kratz. And then the next week we'll see Ruben back. So thank you so much. Bye, everybody.